Okay, we're going live. I'm gonna have to correct my audio stream a bit later, I guess. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I think we're live. Welcome to session 4 of 6 of acrylic painting. Our theme is happy hour. And to leave off from last time, well, actually, I need to just say a few words that welcome to the Ocean County Artists Guild. That's where we're live streaming from. You can visit us on the web at www.ocartistguild.org. We are located at 22 Chestnut Avenue, Island Heights, New Jersey. It's beautiful Island Heights, New Jersey. We are located not far from, well, we're located at the Jersey Shore, not far from Seaside Heights and Island Beach State Park. If you would like to contact us via telephone, you can call 732-270-3111, or you can contact us by email at info@ocartistguild.org. This program is brought to you in part by the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, in cooperation with the Ocean County Cultural and Heritage Commission. Again, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. If you would like access to all of the class materials and the whole program here, or to check out what other programs we have for the local community and beyond, you could please go to our website, www.ocartistguild.org/classes, to check out our class offerings. My name is Kim Cesaretti, and I am the instructor here for this class here at the Guild. And again, welcome. I'm going to go back to my full screen, and I'm just going to explain where we have been in the process and how we're going to proceed. So again, our theme is happy hour, and our class came up with this beautiful still life arrangement. It's a wine glass, a stack of art books, a bowl of chocolates, and chocolate kisses to be exact. And we have a couple of chocolate kisses down there. We came up with the composition. We used the rule of thirds to help us come up with a great composition. From there, we did a little value study, in a little thumbnail value study, as you can see here, to establish what our three main values were: our grays, our blacks, and our whites. And let's see, for the rest of the class. Okay, and then we toned our canvases, okay, with a combination of burnt sienna and cerulean blue. Mixed those two together, made a nice, warm value, and put that all over our canvas. We wiped out a rule of thirds grids. Some of us drew it in, doesn't matter. And then we're able to transfer our composition, sketch it out onto the canvas. And where we are right now is we are completing our grisaille. which is our grayscale. We're establishing the blacks, the darks, and the lights. And I'm going to take my palette knife here, and I'm going to make my grisaille color, which is a combination again of burnt sienna and cerulean blue to get a cooler brown color. That's actually kind of grayed out because burnt sienna is dark orange and then we have blue. Those two colors are opposites on the color wheel, which means they gray or brown each other out. And you can control how warm this perceived gray is by adding more burnt sienna, or you could cool it down more by adding more blue. So I have this nice neutral that I can put in my grisaille. And also what I like to do, I like to keep handy a little spritzer, and I like to spray that. So this is just a little tip for when you're working on your own. But normally we're only sitting here for a couple hours, so it's normally not a problem. But because I get up a lot while I'm instructing, I like to spritz my paints before I get up and walk around so that they don't get dry on me. So, there. All right. So what I'm going to take here is I could take, like a flat or a filbert. I think I'm going to take this flat, and I am going to finish putting in my grisaille because as you can see, what I have here is I have some gray areas uh, that are darker than the tone of the canvas that I want to make sure that I put in. So we're going to continue with that if we're not finished with it. Oh, and I left out the folds in our little the folds of the fabric. I'll put that back later. But for now, we're working from our photo. Now, what I have here is I've marked where that fold was. And here, this is like slightly darker. But here, I need to wash that out a bit more. Wipe off the excess paint. And I just want this to be slightly darker. I'm just going to scrub that in there. Here. And this is really, really soft. There's a soft edge, so I'm going to try to fade that out. Wipe off the excess, and that'll get me there. Now I know that above here, that's a little bit darker, so I'm going to go ahead, and I'm kind of going to create a little bit of a wash here to establish where some of those slightly darker darks are. Oh, and you know what? I forgot to mark out, see where the shadow on my glass was. All right, so I'm going to have to go back in there and make that darker. But at least I have that note ready to go. So here I'm putting in some more values, just trying to generalize pretty much. Now, I also have to establish where those little shadows for those kisses are. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to pick up a smaller brush to get that little detail first before I go in. I don't want to miss that. Dark. And let's see. So I have, it's almost kind of connected to the next one there. So there. Shadows make all the difference. And also, I can't forget that there's a little occlusion shadow underneath that kiss there. Where the object meets the surface of the table, you're always going to see a really dark. So now I have this little triangular shape there. So I got in that little shadow. And the bowl itself here has some gray. Now you see where I drew that center line. That'll eventually get covered. But right now I want to establish that this here is a bit darker. Now it's not as dark as the shadow, but we're going to play around with that next. I got to avoid spot there. Okay, go. So there is a light edge there that I'm going to have to put in. There's a brighter spot there, and there's a brighter spot up here, which I know that I'll be putting in later. Let's just get this in now so that I have established where my shadows are. What I'm recording the shadow shapes here. Shadow shapes on the bowl. And there's also going to be, I know that the book back here is a little darker in that corner. Now it does kind of fade out. So I'll water that down. I know that the spine of this book is very dark, so I'll put that in. Because I drew through the object, I know that this is going to be really good, really technically correct, that drawing, so I don't have to worry too much there. I can just go ahead and darken that in. Very nice. And also, I would say these lines of the book jacket are a bit darker, so I'm going to go ahead on, I'm using the chisel edge of my brush to establish that. These two things, the top and bottom. There we go. And let's see. What else? Okay, so there's a book underneath, and that's going to be a bit gray. Okay, so there's some shadowing over here. It's not really a shadow, it's actually the design on the book cover, but it reads darker. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a bit darker there and establish this. Let's see. There's a brighter edge, which we'll have to add later. Okay. And then I would say the spine of this book reads as a gray, so I'm going to put that in. Not quite as dark as the wine. We're going to make that wine darker in a second after we're done with all of our grays. Here I'm looking at the shape of the darker values that are on this book. You see a definite shape there, kind of comes around, and that could be part of the design on the jacket. But actually here, let's see. Actually from here, so that's that. And then this is an actual. And let's see, I think I'm going to take my finger and pull that off. Or you can always take it off with a clean brush. There's a shape right here. Okay, I have on that book. And that gets taken off. See, there's a brighter spot there, so I can take that off. Then, well, that stays bright, but then there's this occlusion shadow right underneath. And there's a bit of a cast shadow on here on the edge of that book and back here. So I know that this value is darker. There. So my books are starting to take more shape here. They're starting to look like they live in the space rather than floating. Occlusion shadow under this book. We want to make sure we put that in there. See, now it looks like it's more convincingly resting on the book underneath it. And let's see, the spine of this book is a little bit darker when it gets towards the bottom. And let's see, we have this here. The actual spine itself is a bit darker. I'm avoiding the glass right now. And also, I would say the book here, there's a little bit of a shadow there. We have this shadow here. This really dark spot there, which is the back of the table. Okay. Then, okay, so I have that book there. Oh, and that book, I do have there, the binding. You can see a little bit of the binding. I just want to make a reference there. And I can make a little bit of a reference to the design. It's kind of a, bit of a corner. But, you know, keep it loose and abstract. And let's see. Okay, so I have this book that's coming out this way. And this one definitely has a shadow shape. So let's see. Kind of makes a triangle. There's a triangle here. Right? Down. And then comes around on the spine like this. So I have that shadow that I have to put underneath this book here. All the way back. Let's see. Oh, and I forgot. There's a design over there on that book. So it's like this, and then striping there. And from under here to here, there's like a triangle shape. Another shadow. And there's that occlusion shadow that I caught before. It's all under here. And I know it comes there. Okay, so more shadows of the books. So I'm looking at the shapes that that shading makes. Now I haven't done this part. I think I might avoid that. I'm not sure. Let's see. I think I just might continue it this way because I find it to be a distraction. So I do think that I'm going to edit that out. I don't like that little hump back there. And you know what? It's my prerogative. It's my painting, and you know, same for you. You know, you're allowed to edit out what you don't think is going to work, lend itself well to your composition. So you just take the artistic license to go ahead and edit. Okay. So now I have to go in. I don't have a shadow for the wine glass. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to establish that. Put that in. Goes up into the bottom of the bowl there. And I know that there's a thin line of light here. And it comes up. I know that there's a bit of light in there because with the glass, you see like there's the shadow of the glass, but because it's transparent, it's glass, it's transparent, and there's a liquid inside of it that even though it's dark, it's transparent. There's a little bit of a faint light in there. So I'm going to pick that up according to what I see with a damp brush. And then here, that gives me, that effect of, okay, this is, this object is not opaque, it's translucent, and not only is there a cast shadow of the glass, there's also light that passes through it. So within that shadow, there's got to be some kind of transparency going on, okay? And that's one of the values of studying, glass and glassware. Okay. So now I'm going to take a brush a smaller brush, because I want to go into the actual glass itself to establish where the major grays are. And also I can go in, well, I'm going to do this with a darker color, but I could mark out different places. So I know the shape on that part of the glass that makes a bit of a shadow. So remember, we can see through it. It's transparent as well as, more opaque when it has something in it. Okay, so I have, these little markings on the glass, which are, shadows and shine marks, and well, where light refracts, it refracts. So there's some striping down here, maybe refraction of light. So I'll make some references to the different shapes that I might see. And that's just a matter of, doing a brush stroke here and there. And again, you see, here's the occlusion shadow from the base of the glass. I want to make sure I put that in. There you go. Might not be quite that big, but there. Wipe it off. And pick up. There. Okay. So I know too that there, it's lighter in value, but there's than in the bowl of the glass, but it's still, darker. So that in because I know I'm going to go back in and put the darks. Now, as far as the details on the gold rim of the glass, again, I'm not thinking in terms of those details. I'm just going to put in, some references to the darker darks and the lighter lights. I'm leaving the center line there. I'm going to take that out later. There's I would say, let's see, under, this is a bit darker in value. Where that band of gold is right underneath it. There's actually a shape here. That. You can wipe off. And this is above, say, and it looks to me, too, that in this portion of the glass, it's a bit darker. Maybe not quite that dark, but we still got to make a reference there. Okay. Oh, and on this side of the bowl, the inside, on the left side of the inside of the bowl, that's going to have more shadow. So I'm going to put that in. There are some subtle details because there's a texture, but I'm not going to include those. And, oh, here, there's a little kiss that's there. So there are some chocolate kisses in there. So now I'm going to negative paint around those shapes. For now. Add those details later. But the inside of that bowl is going to be slightly darker. So here, maybe I'll just make that all dark and then I can wipe out the kisses and light accents. If you're working in like a smaller area, you can wipe out your paint to reveal things with the acrylics. So here, I'm going to wipe out where I see that kiss. Now you might not see a hard edge, but that's okay. Just to make note of. But then what's funny is that, okay, so then there's a shadow. So I'm going to put that in. There's a shadow there, shadow stroke there. There's a shadow on that, the top there. A shadow on the kiss shape over here. And now we have a shadow shape there. I'm not going to get too detailed. I'm going to add some more darks to that later. Actually, there we go. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go around. First, I'm going to rinse off my brushes. And I'm going to go around and see where we are. Because our next step is going to be, I think I'm pretty well set with most of my grays. Although I think I could go a little bit darker here. Let's do that first before I take a walk. See up here, the above this fold line, it's a bit darker. So let's put that in here around the kisses there. Area. So I might be using thinner paint. All right. And I would say that's darker too. Okay, so I gotta check myself. See, this is all a little bit darker back here. You know what? Since I can, oh, you know what? I'll wipe that out, but I'm gonna try to cover up that grid. I don't really need that back there anymore. So this is a little bit darker. Make sure I have that in there. There. Okay, so that's more in the realm of reality. I need a little bit thicker paint. Good. Here, oh, see, that was supposed to be a little bit darker too. Hump of shape there. Good. That's a little bit darker too. Straighten this out. I know that the corner of that book is somewhere behind the glass. Even through here, right? We have that. There is a little bit of a bright spot there. And this background here is darker than that book. So I'm going to have to put that in. Let's make this a bit darker. Actually, kind of is the same value as what's going into the glass. So this is really interesting because you're going to see that sometimes we lose edges, and that's actually a good thing because it actually helps unify the space, the objects with the space that they live in. Okay, so a bit darker. So I'm working in really thin layers, which I have to say I enjoy doing at this point. I want it to be too dark. I just want that to fade out a little bit more. Some of that. Excess. Wipe off the excess there. I made it subtly darker and blended that in a bit. A little bit more of a light back here. I would say pretty much a good amount of light, more light there, behind where that line is. Find this shape. All right. Actually, the spine of this book needs to be darker. Not the spine, the pages, the side where you could see the pages. There's a shadow underneath there, so I'm going to put that, make that a bit darker. It's a little bit too light. I would say this is probably a little on the light side, so let's do that. And the spine here is a little bit. Let's see, these are probably a little bit too dark. Let's see. This needs to be corrected over here. There needs to be a bright spot in there. So let's take this. I could correct that later when I put in my lightest lights. Okay. All right. So grayscale is in, as far as I can see. Let's see. Ooh. There's another little. Okay. All right. So it's, in a lot of ways, it's still looking a little sketchy because we need to put in our darkest darks. And then, that'll be, in that next step, it's going to make things pop even more. So I'm going to come around and establish, let's see, I'm going to use my phone as a webcam. is that possible? Let's see. Okay. All right. That on. All right. Yay. Okay.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna take a quick sip. I'm gonna go around. Okay, this is where we're at. See how we're doing. Let's take a look. Okay. All right. Do you need an easel, or do you prefer not to use it?
I think I'm gonna just stay flat for a little bit.
Okay.
Eventually.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Okay, so I think here we just need to establish more of our shadow shapes.
Yeah. You're just much faster than
That's all right. You can take your time. It takes a while to see. It's a pretty complex stack of books there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to look at, and there's a lot of shadows. But you have a nice drawing going there.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that you're in a good place.
Yeah, I balanced out my wine glass
Yeah.
a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I worked on the books a little.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yep.
having a lot of trouble. I think that's about proportional to that, but it's so hard to tell.
Okay.
I mean, I tried to measure it with the pencil the way you showed.
Yeah.
And, this is about a third bigger that way.
Okay,
Or
yeah.
a quarter. So
Right.
I tried to do that. And
Yeah. I think it's the shape of the bowl.
okay.
The top, like, see, it kind of tapers around more.
Yeah.
It tapers more here and here.
Okay.
So, like, whereas, yeah, it needs to be a little bit more elliptical.
More elliptical
Yeah.
rather than.
Oops.
Okay.
I would say, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's take this. Let's see if I can take it with a pencil here.
Hold your phone.
I got it. I think I got it here. All right. So I would say it's probably more.
Oh, a lot smaller opening. Okay. Yeah.
More like that. Like, okay, so this is like, it's a little bit on of a slant there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so when you're figuring,
About. Yeah.
so maybe it could be even a little bit wider.
Okay.
I would think of it like that. Yeah, I think that would correct it. And then here, well, it's the same thing.
Is it too?
Now, I think that's okay.
Okay.
I think that's okay. I think, though, that the way the bowl is, it's a little bit, like if I had to do the parallels,
Yeah.
it slants down a little bit. And I think that a lot of us are having a trouble with that. So
Yeah.
if you want to, the way to correct it is, okay, so looking at the angle, like the bottom of the angle, it looks like it's about that.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just a matter of adjusting our
Just so it's a little
our
bit
center
off
line
kilter,
so that it's
yeah.
just a little bit off kilter,
Okay.
and then I think the rest of it will fall into place.
Okay.
I think that's our biggest challenge. This is cute. Yeah, I think that, Joyce, I know what your challenges are, and I have to say, I'm very impressed with what you've done here.
Thank you.
Considering, because I know that this is such a hard, this is so challenging for you to be able to see, the shapes and to, really be able to see the angles and the shapes. But I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the character of it. I still see your hand in it. I love that, you know, you've kept a lot of things, like the bowl is pretty geometric.
Yeah.
I think it's adorable. Like, I love that about it, you know, and
That's
it just
amazing.
goes to show, you know, your drawing doesn't have to perfectly capture what you observe. I mean, you've generalized some things, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I think it gives it, you know, so our job as artists is to, you know, is to simplify, and there's genius in simplicity, and I think what you did with that bowl especially is really, really nice.
Thanks.
Okay? Yeah. All right. So, good job. I would say, you know, just get more grays, you know, more grays in there before we go to the black. It looks like you got some blacks in there.
Well, I did start with gray last week. I already had it down.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want to touch that because I'm not going to be good at that. You're going to have to
Yeah,
help
and
me.
I would say the difference between, all right, so the wine that you see from the side, okay, as for that, the color, the value of that wine is darker than this. So I would say, you know, compare your values, you know, make sure your values are there.
Okay. Got it.
And I'm seeing a separation here, like this needs to continue over or something,
Yeah.
because your book is, yeah.
That was my original book. but
Oh, okay.
Then today I ended up shortening it somehow. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And also here, like, let me see. Okay, so this needs to be, this is part of the table line. So this, if you drew an imaginary line, these have to meet,
Okay.
okay? They have to connect with each other and appear like they're, yeah, because that's the back table line. So,
Okay.
yeah, okay,
Got it.
good. Hi. Ooh, look what we have here.
Wow.
Nice.
These are art books. These are science fiction books.
Science fiction, you can make them whatever books you want, because it's your happy hour. And if that's what makes you happy, then you can put whatever books you want in that pile. That's just they're just, look at them as objects. It could be a stack of mini board games for all we care, right? The only thing I would say is to check the proportion on the base of the wine glass, because it's looking a little small. Like,
Yeah.
that wine
it is
glass
actually,
looks like it would tip over. That's the only thing I would say. And that could be unsettling to the viewer. If they think that their wine is going to tip over, you know it's going to be the end of the world.
Okay.
No, I'm only kidding. I just thought I'd make a joke out of it. But yeah. Yeah. We don't want that wine glass to tip over.
It's a
Let's
weighted.
just make sure.
It's weighted glass. So.
That's great. Okay, let's see. We got Virginia. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
look
trying
at.
to catch up.
Ooh.
But I'm so sorry. I'm closing on my house today, and we've had
Oh,
a couple of glitches.
that's okay.
So.
Well, you have a beautiful sketch here, and it's really, really nice, beautiful, gorgeous.
Oh God.
Yeah. So I know that you'll be able to catch up.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can probably do some stuff at home now that this
Yeah.
is over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is this it? You're closing today?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, boy, you are really busy lady today.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to go back, but what I'm going to do before I'm going to switch back to the overhead, but then I want to come around and I want to take some progress shots of what we have. So, progress shots of what we have before we move on to the next thing, which is going to be putting in our darkest darks. Okay. So I think it's a great idea for us to take pictures of the different stages.
Yeah. That's much better. All right, now that doesn't look like it's gonna tip over. Good job. Cool. Okay. Great. Okay. So next step is darkest darks. Don't rush though with what you're doing. All you need to know in order for us to mix a darker value, we're going to take, instead of cerulean blue, we're just going to take ultramarine blue and mix that with the burnt sienna. And that's going to give us our perceived black. Okay. What I would say is a chromatic black. So we're still mixing opposites, right? Dark orange and blue. And look what happens. Look at how it almost looks black. See how it's a chromatic black. Much more interesting black than if we use that stark black that's out of a tube. Not that there aren't times when we do use it, because there's, of course, lots of practical things we do with black out of a tube, but for right now, I'm really liking this. I think I'm going to mix up a little bit more though, so that I make sure I have enough. I just want to mix up so it's blue. So again, even with the blacks, if you want a warmer black, if you want a warmer color that reads black, then you can put a little bit more burnt sienna in it. If you want it to be a cooler black, if your shadows are really cool, then add more blue. Burnt sienna is warm, the blue is cool. Great. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stick this in the water. I don't really want it over. I don't want it to dry. The one thing, again, with your acrylic paints and your brushes, if you're putting a brush down and you know you're not going to be using it for a while, you want to rinse out the acrylic paint because it dries. It's not like oils. If you're used to working with oils, then, it's not such a big deal, because in one session you're probably going to be picking up that brush again. You don't have that luxury with acrylics. With acrylics, you got to rinse that brush out. Because if the paint dries, the acrylic paint dries and your brushes is going to ruin them. We don't want to see your brushes get ruined. Okay. All right. So here we go. Blackest, darkest darks. All right. So I know that a lot of my darkest darks are going to be what's perceived as some fine lines where objects meet the surface. So we can start with that, especially in that stack of books, right? Wherever the object meets the surface, we have a really dark shadow. And you know what? That's true. I missed this under here because I had my, that line, the grid line was there. I can plop that in here. It's there. Okay. And more occlusion shadows. This book right here. little bit thicker, and then it gets a little bit thinner. I can put that in. Now, I could also put it in with a flat brush. Use a chisel edge and a flat brush, and that could be a lot quicker and easier. Watch. See? There, use the occlusion. Use the chisel edge to get the occlusion shadow there. There we go. And so those books are starting to pop even more. This book here. No. It's really starting to come alive. When you put in an occlusion shadow, it really gives it that extra something that you need to indicate that that book is really there, and you can almost pick it up off that stack. It's almost like magic. It's magical. A little bit of dark back here. Let's see. All right, occlusion shadow of that book. Let's continue. All right, so we got that's a little bit dark there. There's a little bit. Let's get that going. There we go. And over here, let's see. There. Okay, here we go. Okay, and this is really dark back here, so I'm going to put in that little shape. I kind of like that little shape there, that little triangle. That's the back line of the table. Let's see. That, and then we have this. All right. I'm going to take my finger and just soften that dark a little bit down there. Okay.
You're putting that over where the darkest parts were. The darkest shadows, is that it?
Yeah. Yep. Wherever I see the darkest darks. Is where I'm putting
And
it.
that's going over what you already put.
Yes. Oh, well, only over it if it reads as black.
Yeah.
If it should have been a black and I want to make it darker, then I'm going to use this. But if not, then I'm not going to put.
So, right where you're working now, that would be the darker black.
Yeah, that to me
The
reads.
under corner of the books, near the wine list, is that one under corner, and the right part, right side of the bowl.
Yeah,
Okay.
that to me is reading approximately the black.
Okay.
So yeah.
Making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. Now it might fade out, to just a darker gray. But you gotta. Okay, it's getting better. Shape over here. Okay. Let's see this book here, the Van Gogh book. shadows in the books there. To get into that wine glass. First, a little dark here. There. Coming along. Okay. That wine is starting to pop. Sometimes when I'm done with the underpainting, I feel like I don't want to put any color on it. Sometimes I just kind of like it I like the grisaille. I just love that. Yeah, I do. There's just something about this part of it that I just really enjoy. I, I do. I know that sounds a little weird, but Hmm? What? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I know I'm not too. Yeah, right. It's boring to be normal, isn't it? You see now that I don't like. See, I got to make a correction to that because it comes down a little bit more. See, I got to make this. Yeah, this is more. It's got to be like this. There we go. Better. That better. Now there's some lights in here that, you know, I should have probably, could have probably left, but I didn't because I considered it a detail. And when we put in the lighter lights, then, you know, that'll be a good time to put that in, but not now. The other thing that removes acrylic paint is alcohol, but I don't think I would rush to use that. Because if you're not careful with alcohol, it could really, it might damage the underneath part of the painting there. Okay, so wherever I see, you know, some dark accents or something that reads as black, like on this glass or suggestion, I'll just put it in. The one place where you don't want to forget it is where the glass meets the surface of the table, the base of that glass, because that's what really is going to make it pop. You can still see the center line on the glass, the center line on the glass, but that's okay. Now, back line of the glass here, where that line is, there's okay. So that's going okay. Where else? Okay, we need to work on our our bowl. You know what? I do want to darken. Okay, so there's like an occlusion shadow where that bowl meets the surface. So make sure I get that in. That bowl's already going to start to pop some. See that? And then it kind of comes around. And let's see. We got to get that occlusion shadow. Well, more of the shadow of the bowl. Let's see. There's a cast shadow there. We need. That in. Once I get this really dark shadow on the side of that bowl in, that bowl's going to pop. Before it blended in, but watch. Now it's going to emerge. It emerges from the background. There we go. And let's see, we have some other accents here that we need to add. Help that bowl pop out a little bit more, especially around the rim. And let's see, we have this darker shadow on the side of the kiss there that we need to put in. The shadow of the glass. The edge needs that edge. The edge of this shadow needs to be darker. Put that in. Aha! See, it's alive. It's alive. Still need some shadows. Let's see the shadow. That one. This one here. Okay, I still need some brown. Got a little bit darker behind there. Let's see. See, now that needs to be a little bit darker behind there. So let's do it right there. Okay. Thinking, oh, gotta get the kisses. Gotta get that done. But let's make that bowl, shadows on that bowl a little bit more pronounced. Stumble it in. Okay, so I think I need a little bit more detail. More detail on the kisses there, just shadow wise. Okay. So we do a shadow shape on it. Let's see, this one's mostly in shadow, except for there's an edge there. And there's the dark shadow shapes. That occlusion shadow that's right underneath where the kiss meets the table. When we put that in, it's going to make that kiss pop. I'm going to negative paint. There's a shadow there that I have to negative paint in. That's on the side of that table there. Ah, wow, that kiss is really coming alive. It almost looks good enough to eat now. And here, I got to get a shadow in there. And all it takes is a little stroke here and a little stroke there. And, you know, you're pretty much can nail it. Okay. I think I need to glaze that darker behind there, right behind the bowl. I think overall it needs a little bit more dark. So I'm going to take some of the Versailles color. I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that all a little bit darker. I can go back in and wipe some things out, but this all needs to be pushed back. And then I'll be able to do that. And then that bowl will pop out more. See, it doesn't, it needs to be a little bit darker around that bowl in order for that to pop out more. So there we go. And I think that helps it. I mean, I do got to add lights, but I think that's pretty good. Let's see. Maybe need some more shadowing over here above this line. So here, I'll glaze a little bit more. And when I say glaze, I'm just taking, you know, some thinned out Versailles color paint and putting it over, glazing it over what's already kind of dry. Well, in my case, the occlusion shadows aren't, so, or the really dark, so I'm going to try to avoid that area. But I'm going to put a little, make it a little bit darker by putting it a wash of dark over this. Me. Yeah, and I think that around the side of the glass. That's going to help too. I'll make the brights on my glass pop better. Around here, I got to get rid of that because I can see that line, and it's, you know, the line from the grid. The line from the grid is kind of interfering with what I need here. There we go. Okay, that's better. And then over here, much better. And corner in there to be darker. This up here. Overall, I'm adjusting, doing a pretty decent job of adjusting my values. Let's see. Let's get behind this kiss here too. Okay. All right. So I think this is pretty good. Oh, I just found another place to glaze, which is right here on where this gold strip is. There we go. That corrects that value some. And on the inside of this glass up in here, that needs to be a little bit darker. There. Okay. And let's see, this area of the stem of the glass here. There we go. And let's see, there's some more gray here on the base there. Back here, that's much better. And over here. Okay, so some minor adjustments. Okay. I think that we're pretty much going to add some of the last thing is I'm going to add some of the shadows from the kisses that are in the bowl. I know that they're there. So that's going to be just a few brush strokes here and there. Nothing too major because and nothing too defined. I'm more or less just suggesting that there may be a couple of details of the major shadows that might be here in this bowl here for the design. Okay, this is a good stopping point. me. Might be for you too. So when we come back next time, we're going to work on our lightest lights. Okay. It's looking good so far. What do you think? Anybody have any questions about what I just showed? Opinions? Complaints? Any complaints? Okay, so we're closer to the realm of reality with our painting. So again, next time we'll throw in some lights. We're going to work from color. We're going to put some colors in. We're going to add some color to the light. We're not going to do white, okay, but we're going to look at some of the, not the really bright whites or the shine marks, but the lights. So, and that's going to have a color. It's either going to be warm or cool, or maybe a combination depending on where in the composition it is. So that's what's coming next, okay, after, the darkest darks. So for those of you who are catching this on the replay or watching at home, uh, feel free to send me pictures of what you're working on for feedback. Please send me any questions that you have. I know it was hard to get out today because either, because of previous obligations or because of the huge snowstorm we had where some of us could not get out to come. So, know that you're missed and that we're looking forward to seeing you next time. But like I said, in the meantime, please, get in touch with me if you need any questions answered or have any challenges that you need help with, and I'll be glad to help you in between now and our next live class. Thanks a lot for joining.